Did you hit the go lock?
Hey, everybody. So we're welcoming you to the nightly decompression. Tonight is a night, or this time, excuse me, is a time where we, HB and myself, spend about 15 minutes with the community, with the state, with our city, with our country, with those who are able to watch us around the world, to just take 15 minutes to decompress from everything that's going on in the world. This is the second day of the 7th week that we've been doing this. And just like HB mentioned on yesterday, that, you know, we just said, hey, let's do this. He gave me a call, asked if I would help. I said yes. And now we have been on a roll. And luckily, we've had things to actually talk about each night. And so we truly hope that this has been beneficial for everyone. We truly hope that you're able to take this time to decompress, whether you're watching us live or whether you're watching us on the replay. You know, one of the key things that I continuously mention, and I know HB has been doing so as well, is remember to breathe. Remember that taking those deep, deep breaths, filling that lung all the way to the bottom, allowing that lung to hit your diaphragm, and your diaphragm engaging that vagus nerve. Remember that that is what's going to help keep your body calm. Hey, Maxine, Miss Campbell, hi. And so if anything, if you don't get anything at all from these 15 minutes of nightly decompression, remember to breathe. Hopefully, though, you're getting a lot more than that because we've been going every night. We've talked about reading, we've talked about music, we've talked about parenting, we've talked about just all different types of things that we can do to be able to just kind of decompress from the day. Hey, good evening, Miss Hopper, Liz Hopper. And so tonight, what we're going to be doing, if you're wondering why I am the person who's doing the introduction, is tonight I have the beautiful opportunity for us to kind of get to know HB a little bit better. You know, you've been inviting us into your homes, into your workplaces, or for those of you who may pull off to the side when you're driving your car, but you've been spending this time with us. You've been gifting us with your time, and we feel that it's necessary and probably the best thing for you to kind of know who we are and where we're coming from, and who the spirit of the person it is that you're allowing to come into your home. So it's 6:01. I'm going to go ahead and start to bring Mr. Harold Branch on. For those of you who know HB and for those of you who don't, he is Harold Gregory Branch III. He is a poet. He is a wordsmith. He's a teacher. He's a trainer. He's a tremendous father. He's an excellent person when it comes to co-parenting. He is just one of the most humblest souls on earth whom I have known since he was the age of 18, where I thought he was just this young, crazy kid on the campus of Arizona State University. But while he was on the campus of Arizona State University, he was a leader back then. He was hosting these huge open mics, and then that later in life became Home Base, which is this community that this platform is on, where Home Base was the #1 biggest open mic in the United States. So everyone, please help me welcome Mr. Harold Gregory Branch the Third.
You getting pretty good at that. Oh.
Hey.
Yeah. How you doing?
How are you tonight, Mr. HB?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Doing good.
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah. Doing great though. Thank you.
I'm just excellent. I'm just seeing how does that work. I don't know how to do the little word things.
Oh, okay.
That part I messed up on, but I'll figure it out. So tonight, to hit banner.
Yeah. Yep. You can hit banner and do that.
Oh, there we go. How do I switch that over to you?
It's going to be on the left.
Oh, okay. Well, excellent. So tonight we are going to have an opportunity. Say it again?
No. Go ahead.
Say it again. Okay, so tonight we get an opportunity to get. Tonight we get an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. And so last night was a great opportunity. I got to sit in the hot seat, and now it's your turn. And so, you know, initially what I would like to know, and I think who others would like to know, who, especially those who don't really know you on a personal level is tell us a little bit about your foundation, how you were raised, and what has built the stepping stone to who you are to become who you are now. That was a lot of questions, so I'm going to break that back down.
Okay.
First, tell us where you're from and how you were raised.
Sounds great. I'm from Chicago, originally west side of Chicago. So that in and of itself means a lot. Late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot going on in the Chicago area at that time as far as gangs, drugs, just the crack epidemic on Generation X was serious. So, it was just in the middle of that. Grew up, my aunt and my grandma took care of me growing up, which is great. I reconnected with my father later on and, have a beautiful relationship, at that point and now. But early in the game, it was my aunt, Auntie Frida, who I just passed here in May, well, a couple months ago, and my granny. Yeah, and my Auntie Frida was the Sunday school teacher. So I was at church every Sunday, if not, Bible study on Wednesdays as well. I've been an usher, I've been in the choir, just all that good stuff. And that was pretty much the foundation. Everybody lived with us. So we always had like 3 uncles there at the house living. My brother was there, my sister was there. So it was a packed house. Granny took care of everybody. If anybody came hungry, fed everybody. That whole energy. But definitely a bunch of strong women raising me, and strong personalities, strong attitudes in a tough neighborhood. So being a gentle spirit coming up in that was definitely different, and having the trauma of losing my mom at 2, that was tough. So I'm sure I had some emotional stuff I had never dealt with. I didn't really get counseling for that, and I'm sure other people got these experiences, but being a survivor of suicide, right? Somebody close to me who's committed suicide, that was, that had its own emotional heaviness that we found other ways to deal with, like most people on the block do, right? We found other ways to self-treat, and they're not always the healthiest decisions. But that's how I grew up. A lot of different influences from the block and the gangs, but also my church folks, and also going to Catholic school after having a bad situation at a public school. But I wore a uniform every day, so it was a big pendulum. Really, really good, really, really crazy.
So what's a lesson if you can think back up to the age of 10?
Okay.
If you were to say, here's something that I learned up until the age of 10. So it doesn't have to be this specific incident, but if there's something that culminates that says, this is a lesson that I've learned that I now continue to take with me, what might that be?
Up to the age of 10, I would say emotions are not to be ignored.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah, my emotions was real heavy, real early. I used to cry a lot. I used to have night terrors. It was just a really intense, emotional childhood. Like I said, I had a lot of great things going on the block too, but just not having that there for me was a struggle, and a lot trying to deal with that and understand that ignoring what's considered the darker emotions just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Ignoring them doesn't work. And I learned that early on because I tried these different things. And by the age of 10, I realized there was no avoiding them, and that was the year I decided to stop. My 10th birthday, I was like, I can't cry no more. I was a crybaby. No more crying.
And I didn't know that 10 was pivotal for you. I just pulled 10 out of the air.
Yeah, so 10 was because I was like, I'm in double digits. Like I remember it like it was yesterday. And that's the thing. I remember a lot of stuff really, really well, and then totally blank on a lot of other stuff. It may be a mechanism, but at 10, I was crying all the time. I used to get in trouble for crying so much, just being that sensitive kid. And when I knew my 10th birthday was coming up, I was like, I'm done. No more crying. Done crying. So just those kind of decisions that young people have to make in those situations are pretty sad. So clearly I didn't keep the no crying.
Right.
Because that wasn't healthy.
Right.
But I did realize that emotions are absolutely real and they have to be dealt with.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, so up to 10, you learned emotions should not be ignored, and that's something you absolutely use now. I mean, you are such a huge advocate when it comes to mental health. Being a poet, you evoke emotions from others as you're sharing the emotions that you've had. So maybe tell us what was like 10 to 15.
10 to 15 was probably 5 of the most intense years of my life.
Okay.
I went through a lot really young. I went through a tremendous amount really young. So trying to figure out manhood. Luckily, I had my big brother there. I had my uncles around. And the women that was around was tough as nails as well. So trying to fit into that tough environment and do that. My Uncle Sonny used to recite poetry to me since I was about 8 years old. He used to recite Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, Annabelle Lee, The Cremation of Sam McGee, which is not Edgar Allan Poe, but kind of some country poetry, right? Country Western kind of poem. But absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Dolomite. He should not have been telling me all the stories of Shine and stuff like that, signifying monkey. But he was telling me all these poems at about 8 years old, up for years. For years. And when I was 14 is when my English teacher actually had the poem book of Edgar Allan Poe and gave us an assignment to write a poem for Valentine's Day that went well. And that's how I started writing poetry. And so that's one of the most significant things. But I got my first tattoo at 14. I got that's when you dabbled in the streets a little bit, and things like that. So that's about that age that so many things happened that I had to unlearn. You know what I mean? I didn't have a gun for years because I got my first one on my 14th birthday, right? So, it was an intense time. And like I said, it was early 90s in Chicago. And the murder rate was almost twice what it is now. So it was pretty heavy. Yep. But a lot of joy. Girls came into the picture around that time. That was a big deal, right? So, and then it was at the end of my 15th year where the streets got so crazy. Granny was like, you got to go live with your dad. I met my dad when I was 14. So I met the branches. I was the only branch. I never met my father's side of the family.
So you had not met them?
I never met my father's side of the family. And it was a game changer for me. It was a life changer for me. And realizing that I already had a big family, but I got another huge family that loves me, wants me, and things like that. And who don't want to connect with their dad? You know what I mean? Like, it's your dad. So that was just massive for us. And I ended up moving to Avondale right before I turned 16. And that's how I got to Arizona and got to build it.
Yeah, what was that like for you coming out here from Chicago?
Oh my God. It was Avondale in like 94, 96.
So very farmish?
Very farmish, old school Avondale. It didn't even have all these other streets, you know what I mean? But it was a culture shock, but it was relieving as well, because a lot of the concern that I carry, I didn't have to carry here. So I was able to start the process of shedding a lot of the armor that I wore simply because of my environment. And, when you want to change your life, sometimes an environment change is mandatory. So I was able to embrace some of the aspects of me that didn't serve me well in a battlefield.
Yeah.
Right. So that was wonderful, just having my dad's guidance and learning our legacy. As far as my father's side, I understood my legacy on my mama's side. So to know from both sides the strength that I had, the Black Panther history, Buddhism, like so many different pieces that I was able to start putting together for the puzzle of who I am. It was crazy. But Avondale, it was a trip, man. I was looking around for Black folks. You know, that's what you do. And that was minimal. You know what I mean? Just a couple. So you bring those couple. And then I was like, all right, who's the darkest people? Oh, Mexicans. All right. So then my best friend, Jesse, you know what I mean? We start hanging out really tough. I started to understand the West Coast culture and 6'4" Impalas and, you know, going to hang out on Mill Avenue. And they got all the old school, you know, Impalas and the lowrider bikes. And this was stuff I only saw on TV. You know what I mean? Boys in the Hood type stuff. Yeah. So I didn't know Arizona has such strong West Coast elements. You know what I mean? As well as Southwest. It's like a beautiful combination. Yeah. And it was just a lot of opportunity out here. I was like, y'all playing with this opportunity. You know, I was like, I'm hungry. I want it all. And so it was cool. It's been a blessing, obviously. I love Arizona. I love it. Yep.
And then I had the wonderful opportunity to meet you just a few short years after that. And I have to tell you, HB, anyone who met you at the time that I met you, you were what, 19?
Yep, 18, 19.
Never have ever thought that you had peeled off armor. You were at that time, such a sweet soul, such a humble soul, such a knowledge thirsting soul. Would never have guessed that you were stripping yourself from what you had experienced as an even younger person.
You know, it's even though we was on the block, we was in the hood, we had those elements. There was a book at every part of the house, like I mentioned in another one. So everybody was big time readers. And it's something almost freeing about having, and it's gonna sound a little dark, having death on your mind early, because you're thinking about what's your purpose and what's the purpose in living, what's your purpose in this world. And that's been on my mind since I was a baby, since I was a kid, 2 years old, right? Because of losing my mom. So when I finally moved out there, I was like, this is a chance to totally redefine myself, totally start over, embrace the things that I love, try to shed the things that I don't. And I had anger issues. Those that know me back home, they know that's real. You know what I mean? And I was in fights every day, literally every day in a fight. You know, whether we was a real fight or practicing or being pitted against each other in the backyard, you know, almost like a fight club situation. And when I got here, I was like, I don't have to do any of that. I did a lot of self-work. I really committed to learning me and learning how my mind works, how my emotion works. And I didn't realize I had so many challenges. And I was pretty much just working it out in myself, you know what I mean, versus some other ways. So it was a lot of self-care going on, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of study, I used to skip classes at the community college because I dropped out of high school to go to the community college for a program. And I used to skip those classes to go to seminars on personal development and workshops.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you, because our time, we're at 6:17. So I wanted to ask you if, from your experience, for someone, and I know that your answer will be therapy. So outside of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So outside of going to therapy, what's the one thing that you would recommend to a broad audience of how to improve yourself?
It's easy. Be honest. Be honest. Most people lie to themselves about their challenges, about what they're not good at, about what hurts them. Most people, I've learned, they talk in terms of how they wish they would act, hope they would act, and hope they would feel, not how they know they would actually feel about a situation. So they put themselves in scenarios where, you know, ideally I would do it like this, but that's not who they are. You know, and I got to accept who I am. There's certain things that's bad, that's habit, and there's certain things that's character, just who I am. And I know, and I'm honest about who I am. I know I'm emotional. You know what I mean? I know that I have a lot of patience until I don't. So I got to make sure to not put myself in certain situations where I can explode. I can't be around certain kind of people on a personal, long-term basis. I have to minimize certain interaction because what I know I would respond like. So I'm just
do a good self-analysis.
Tons of self-analysis. And sometimes it could roll into a lot of self-criticism. So that's something that I work on and work through. I feel like I'm only as good as my last performance. I'm always trying to stay relevant. I don't want to be the person that is bragging about stuff I did 20 years ago. So what am I doing now? What am I doing now? What's my next thing? So like home base was great, but okay, I'm in school now. Like I got to do, I don't want to talk about that. What am I doing now?
Yeah, but we can still be grateful for what you've done in the community when it came to it, right? And so it's okay for us to still look back 20 years and say, yeah, I did that.
I appreciate it. I love it. Yeah, no, it makes me feel like I did something that stood the test of time, and it justifies all the sacrifice, you know, not going to the parties in college and instead going to protests in college, you know what I mean? And doing these different, I made a lot of sacrifices, and it would suck if it didn't, you know, if it was no love for it. So super grateful for that. Yep. Super grateful. And love my people and, you know, move in love.
Well, Mr. Branch, we are at 6:20.
Yeah, we gotta go. We're 5 minutes over. So love y'all. Thank you.
Do you want to close out? You want me to close out? What you want to do?
Hey, you know what? I appreciate you, family, and we love you, and we appreciate you, and hopefully you feel the love, because that is literally the only reason we're doing this, and it's how we try to move. Hate recruits. Hate is loud. Hate is active. Love needs to be loud. Love needs to be active. Love got to quit being meek and quiet. So we're trying to love you out loud, everybody. And all we want you to do is remember your warriors in this beautiful journey, this beautiful fight. What's going on in Portland and protests everywhere. We're doing beautiful things, and you are fighting hard, but you also have to know how to heal, and that's what we're here for. Thanks for letting me be transparent.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.